go on, we're gonna stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, I'm not gonna do it because I don't think anybody's in here that's gonna have anything that's not on the agenda. So, yeah, Marcel's not here. I think we've already done an employee recognition thing.
Yes, we did do that.
Liz. Richie, come on up. I think we've got. How's Richie today?
I'm doing well. Yourself?
Just side of 6 feet.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you.
So, who's there? All right, so there are some definite changes coming on this year. So I don't know if you recall last year that I mentioned that Liberty Mutual had initially issued a non-renewal, and we were able to convince them to stay on the policy. Well, the market conditions have not improved. In fact, they're worse now in the insurance industry. And then you tie that together with claims history. They did decide, and I could not get them to change their mind on non. So Liberty Mutual did not.
So was that because of Scott County, or was that because of other business practices?
Both.
So we had a lot of claims.
Historically, there's 2 bad years, really, and then there's a couple of decent years. And I would say a lot of it really boils down to market conditions. It's what they have decided to do, and some of the other companies are doing the same thing, getting away from counties, specifically because of the jails. The jails are the leading issue for them. Claims happen; they're big for a lot of times. So, and I've got some other mentions here on this next page. I'll show you, and they mentioned market conditions, and they mentioned, and some of them mentioned counties. So going out to market, looking at our other companies, I received several declines from other companies. And that's, you go down to that next page, I'll have, after the letter from Liberty, it'll show the declines. Public risk underwriters, that's this a broker we commonly use. They're the broker we use your work comp through. They have a P&C package. They decline due to loss history and market conditions. Tokyo Marine HCC, the county's been with HCC for many years, over the last 20 years. We had the county with HCC for about 16 years, and then another 1 or 2 with the Louisville broker you were with. After that, now they're saying they're not really interested in jails. Bliss McKnight is another municipality broker we use on a regular basis. That, specifically claim severity concerns arising out of jail, and then the auto loss frequency severity is what they've mentioned. Then Travelers is another company we've had you with in the past, loss history, market condition. So there's limited options out there for insurance. And so that was the typical ones that we use. There's another broker we use, and that's who we got this through. Their normal program declined also. I didn't list that company on there. So this is the option, the backup option that counties and other counties have had to do it. And it's called a SIR, self-insured retention. From a coverage limit standpoint, coverage is similar. From a premium standpoint, the premium is similar. There's probably only a $24,000 difference in the total package of every policy we have with you from last year to this year. The biggest difference is going to be the claims, on how the claims are handled and what the claims deductibles are. So last year we had that $100,000 wind hail deductible on the property. And then we had scheduled, lower scheduled deductibles, maybe $5,000, $10,000 on various liabilities. And same thing on the auto physical damage, $5,000 to $25,000, depending on the value of the vehicle. So what this does is basically puts $150,000 on the property deductible for any kind of claim. And then it puts a $250,000 deductible on the liability coverages. There is a maximum cap of $500,000. So that would be the maximum that ever will be paid out on any combination of any claims, that would cap into this program, whether it's property or your various forms of liability, physical damage, things like that. Then we also have on that first line of coverage, that first program, there's $1 million of property coverage included in that. So then Travelers was willing to provide an excess coverage for the additional $47 million in coverage. Should we have a claim that would extend past that $1 million on a property. I'll stick on this first page for the moment because that's the thing that has changed. The rest of it will be the same policies.
For everything else beyond that same
coverage.
travel.
Yeah, the cyber. Yeah, and I'll go over that, but I want to stick on this one just to be sure that we're understanding. There will be a TPA, third party administrator for the claims. That's listed down there, Brentwood Services. They'll work directly with the auditor's office to handle those claims, and they allow you to use any attorney you want. They're not going to have a specific attorney you want to use, so you can choose your attorney. And with the TPA, then we'll set up a meeting for the auditor's office to learn and understand the details and the process of handling that. If anybody wants to sit in on that, more than welcome to. If you're familiar with any kind of self-insured program, that's kind of how that works. You have a big deductible, and then you have a third-party administrator that handles the claims and processes and adjudicates it.
So the limit of insurance, is that roughly what we have now?
Yes. When you combine the two programs together, yes. So the liability limits, you've got your $1 million, then you have your $5 million on the excess line. Similar setup as you had before. The property is split out between the two programs. This program only offers $1 million on first dollar after deductible within their program. So that's why we tacked on the Travelers. Travelers was willing to do an excess property coverage for this program. Now, there's a possibility that we might be able to find. We're going to continue looking for another property option because if we could do that, it would save some money. All my carriers I got declines on them, or they just won't do this type of risk. The broker that we're using for this says that he thinks he can get somebody to take it. For example, Chubb. I didn't have the Chubb on there. We went to Chubb. We were declined for property only. He uses a different office in a different state and different underwriters. Thinks he might have a shot at talking him into doing it. Then he said there might be another company that he could look at also. So if we can do that, we can do that April 1st. And then it would could be a significant savings and improved deductibles. But at this point, we know, that's just something we're still going to continue to pursue.
All right, I'm never have said I would know the first thing about insurance, and I don't. But I'm going to ask a question. Is there ways to break it down to where we have a company that only does our cars, or what, or property or liability? Is there,
If you can find yes, the answer is yes. If you can find the carrier to do it, and the property is one we think we may, he
so that's what
thinks,
you're saying?
yeah, he thinks he can. I wasn't successful in finding one,
'Cause what,
but he thinks he can find a property carrier.
because it seems like what we're doing is we're all in with
Yes.
everything. And I understand the perks and for that company, but sometimes, as you're saying, there's companies out there that says, we're not touching anything with the jail.
Mm-hmm.
Can we get anything excluding the jail and then do the jail separately?
So yes, and I even tried that with Liberty. What will you stay on? What will you continue? And they weren't going to stay on anything. So you've got the jail on the liability side. Then you have the autos, which is another kind of segmented item that you could potentially farm out. You do have officers and pursuits and things like that is going to eliminate a lot of companies that just don't want that kind of risk. But then the majority of the heaviness of the claims comes from the auto. So that kind of eliminates that.
Ask you a question too. If perchance, they had a policy, or our sheriff had a policy that said, we're not gonna pursue, we're not gonna have any pursuit policy. I mean, that changed anybody's insurance, or would they say, well, he pursued and they have a policy and we're not covered?
If we had maybe another good year to support claims history, because last, I think, and I've got it back here.
And I'm not talking
Yeah.
to the sheriff, because we commissioners can't control what the sheriff does. and
Right.
If someone knew that our insurance was going sky high because of that type of situation.
The other challenge is that what helps make the hard part tolerable is having the good with it. So having the other autos that kind of provide more premium to give them some cushion should,
Okay.
So if you segment that out, then you're taking the highest risk and then trying to find something on the highest risk. It's kind of like,
Give
18
me
year
all
old.
your bad.
Yeah, like an 18-year-old, that comes to us, the parents want to get the 18-year-old off the policy. And, so they ask us to quote a policy. And I tell them every time it's going to be twice as much for the 18-year-old on their own versus being on your policy. I would think it'd be something similar.
That's what I was wondering, because I was kind of thinking the same thing, Mike. It's like, certain departments are paying, let's take EMS, for instance. I know they're taking the brunt for other departments. For the high premiums, as we would have probably at the sheriff's department, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where my mind was going. Would it be cheaper having a separate policy? But it sounds like
I don't know
That's
that.
not
I don't know that the net result is cheap. And then, like I said, at this point right now, we're not going to find someone who's going to be willing to do it.
So is there, I mean, every county in Indiana, 91 counties in Indiana have jail. One doesn't. But
Mhm.
what's other people doing?
So others have had to go through this. And, there's others that have gone on a program like this. If they've been clean and having good loss ratios, I would assume that some of the carriers are willing to stay on. Liberty made it sound like it's an across the board decision. But last year it wasn't fully across the board, obviously, because they kept us on. So I don't know that if they've done that across the board, but I know that they have definitely. I mean, and I confirm it with other companies too. They say, yeah, Liberty's taking this stance, this hard stance. So that doesn't mean they don't have a county on the books, but they are weeding them out. And then, like I said, just ACC, the same scenario. But we've had, 18 out of the last 24 years, you've probably been with ACC, and now they don't want to be in the market. So travelers will sometimes do it too. They're not fully out of it, but they're more conservative about it.
guess my question here is going to be, um, is it going to end up in a situation where we can't insure the jail anymore, and if we have situations over there that's just gonna be out of pocket?
This program, it would have to be, I think, things would have to be pretty ugly for them to not be willing to do this program.
Well, the price for everything.
Yeah, for this, and that's because, and that's with the high deductibles. That's why they're willing to roll the dice. So I don't see a situation like that happening to where you can't even get something like this. Our goal is going to be to get off of this as soon as possible. And
So
have
to get off of it, we need to,
good claims.
we need to create a policy or some educational things to tell, and I'm not picking on the sheriff, but I'm picking on the jail to say, you need to meet some goals over here of, you know, making sure people aren't getting hurt, making sure, look at Nick back there. We went with some different cots that hurt, reduce back injuries. They need to come up with some different plans, and I'm sure if sheriffs are having the same problem, they need to start implementing some programs to reduce those injuries, reduce those claims. And I'm gonna tell you, I think, and I know Randy hit on it, this year with, the amount of accidents we're having at the sheriff's department. Again, he drives more miles than anybody in this county.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got the biggest, liability, I guess, for the county. So, but we just need to get, as you're saying, if they see improvement, then they may take another look at us and down the road, but we need to tighten our belts as far as, who's driving and what's driving and
Yeah.
try to reduce that.
Yeah, from a claim dollar standpoint, it's the auto that's driving this. On the jail side, something that was mentioned to me was the capacity, being at 95% capacity.
I don't think it's been at 165 for about the last year, so it's 200. I think the capacity is 200.
Maybe it was 90,
It could
95.
have been.
Yeah.
There was a time when it was over 200, and because I look at that every day for some odd reason.
Yeah. So they just mentioned that. And so my argument was it's below capacity.
Yeah.
And their argument is if it's above 90%, then it's kind of predisposes it to the potential of something happening.
And that, again,
And I don't know how you control
doesn't-
that.
that number doesn't make any sense either, because the state will come in and say, you have built a jail that'll hold 220 people, but you need to be at
Yeah,
15% below capacity.
I get it. That's what I'm saying. That's why that was my first argument. They're below capacity.
That's right, but they want you below the
Mhm.
capacity. It's always an argument, and insurance companies, I think, I look at insurance companies, they're the only ones that survived the Great Depression. And, there's a reason.
Right.
Randy, you got comments?
So, are we just looking mostly at the liability of the inmates as being our biggest hurdle? Or is it the vehicles?
Well, the claims
The
dollars
wrecks at the
are,
sheriff's?
yeah, when you look at the claims dollars, and if you want, so you go, we'll skip ahead to that. I want to come back to it. But like the next page I have in there has the claims. And I kind of highlighted the two larger. Yes, that's it. It's a 5-year. Yeah, if you just pick that staple up.
Should be,
Staple
it's
pack.
not stapled on the
Yeah,
back.
it's the next page up and staple pack. As you go through that AL is auto liability and that APD is auto physical damage. And you can see the two glaring events there, 1 year, 333,000 and another year, 505,000. Now, one of those is due to a recent reserve increase. So it's not that they have paid that out, but the insurance company sets a reserve in what is potentially expected, things like that. So that they can be conservative on that. So it may settle out in the end and doesn't end up being that high, and that'll help us in the future.
So we had 2 losses for that number, 2 claims.
Yep. And
Oh, that was for 21.
21 and 23. Yeah, that year you're talking about 20.
Yeah.
So
And these are accidents.
auto liability would
Oh,
be an accident.
okay.
Yeah, and then the auto physical damage is damage to your own vehicles. Liability is paying for bodily injury and property damage to others.
Okay. So my question is, if we don't have a heart attack, guys, this is just thinking out a little bit. If we went and just went self-insured on our autos over there, how much would that help us?
Well, you're doing a partial self-insured with this program. That's basically what this program is.
Yeah.
Because you got the high deductibles. If we, and I don't know what the breakout is on premiums of these between different lines of business. They just gave me the package price, and you are at their minimum package price, so I don't know that it make a difference. But if we took that out, what would that do? I don't think it'd be significant.
Well,
I mean, because we're talking 300,000. This package is $328,000. So if you took out, even if it was $100,000, if you took that off of there, that's not a lot of savings compared to the exposure you could have. Up to the $5-6 million that you're provided coverage on. I wouldn't think it'd be.
Well, technically speaking, we only have to provide the sheriff with one vehicle by law. And I'm not saying that that's what we need to do. But my thoughts are that we provide insurance out of pocket for one vehicle. And the sheriff will have to provide insurance himself for the rest. And the reason I'm saying that, and I'm not trying to pick on Jerry, the reason I'm saying that is we have one officer over there who's literally had 5 wrecks. So how do you stop somebody from continuing to do that when you're not? We got to pay for whatever they make a decision to do, So I think maybe it might be time for us to.
Well,
we just become self-insured for one vehicle. And he, through commissary, is going to have to pay for the rest of his insurance for his other vehicles. I mean, to get us, that's the only way I know to get these accidents down.
well, when you said that, because I was thinking, okay, if you say, okay, we're not going to pay it out of the commissioner's budget, but it's going to be paid out of his budget, you're just moving the money around. But if you're saying that you're going to push him to say, if you want more than one car insured, then you have to insure them yourself. But here's the other thing, this is where the legal thing would come in, is that all vehicles in Scott County are property of the Board of Commissioners. He would not be able to insure any cars that are not in his name.
I don't think that's right. You can insure anything you want to, can't you?
Yeah.
You can.
I mean, you want to insure my cars, I'll give you that.
Well, I mean,
So,
I get what you're saying, and quite honestly, I think what you're really saying is that whoever the sheriff is, and I'm not picking on the current sheriff, I'm just saying whoever the sheriff is, or whoever's the head of any department has the major accidents, needs to get their stuff in line and quit saying, well, it's an accident. Well, right now it's 859,600. Actually, it's $1 million if you add both lines.
So let me have kind of a different approach on that. Similar concept, but different approach. So on a claim or deductible, who's paying? Is that coming, like, if it's a sheriff's vehicle, is that coming out of the sheriff's department?
No.
And highway department?
Nice.
Okay. Because I guess the incentive to not have a claim is for sure now.
Education.
Well, the deductible. So, we're going from a $5,000, $10,000 deductible basically to, a potential $250,000 deductible. So if someone has a claim, there is very well, the first, small ones, it's going to be 100% out of pocket, even if it's a loss on a $25,000, $50,000 vehicle. So there could, if you're looking for incentives to inspire departments to take more assertive action, you could do a cost sharing or something like that on those deductibles.
Well, again, it's,
I don't know if you got the legal
again,
side of it, but
I get that, and again, I agree with you, but it's still taxpayer dollars.
yeah,
Whether he budgets for $50,000 for 5 wrecks and says, okay, well, I budgeted for it, there's the money. Well,
Yeah.
it's no different coming out of our pocket, coming out of his.
well,
That doesn't incentivize him to, or anybody for that matter. And again, I'm not,
Unless it's coming out of his commissary.
well, but we can't control how he spends the commissary. That's one thing. Let's tell the federal or the state government changes that. We can't tell him to spend the money out of commissary. If he wants to, then that's something he wants to do. I'm just trying to figure out, working for UPS, we've had programs where he said, okay, you need to brainstorm, come up with some ideas to try to reduce this, and
Yes.
this. I think because he is the sheriff's department, not sheriff's department is the #1 liability for accidents with cars and vehicles. Whether somebody's running into us or we're running into somebody or whatever the reason. They need to come up with a plan that satisfies a reduction in accidents and not just say, well, we had one less than we had last year. Yeah, buy pizza if you went a month without an accident, buy steak dinners or whatever, but that's a lot cheaper than, the number I'm looking here is right at $1 million of total losses.
mhm.
So we can't sustain that. And quite honestly, if I was the insurance company, I wouldn't do it either. Because we ran into that with some health things and
Mhm.
they can't sustain that either.
Right.
They can take a bump every once in a while
Right.
and still say, okay, I can stomach it. We're going to get down the road and have a better year. Our numbers aren't coming down. I mean, so Randy, I agree with what you're trying to say, but to try to do, but I mean, you can't force him to do that. And just moving it to his budget is just moving money, in my opinion. That's my opinion.
So the opposite of, the carrot and stick. So the stick is the deductible. If you're saying that you can't really pass that on to them because then you have to pass on money, I guess, to cover it. I don't know if you incentivize the departments to, if they have, claims below this amount, then they get, an extra bump on their.
Let me ask
department.
you this question. We have a fleet of cars.
Mhm.
So if we reduce that fleet of cars from 30 to, or whatever the number, 100, I think it is for the whole county, we reduce that, does that change anything? Because we're changing our liability.
Typically, but this is on this package though, it won't, because we're basically their minimum premium.
Because that's where I was getting at. And here's where I go with your
I know where you're going.
if he wrecks the car, he doesn't replace it.
Yeah.
You just go, somebody's gonna ride with somebody else. You're just going to slip seat a car.
Mhm.
Because at the end of the year, if you show some improvement, maybe the county will buy you another car. But
Well, that's, yeah,
just by saying, okay, you know, you ran in a ditch because X, Y, Z, I mean, and again, it's is our employee responsible for the accident or is it somebody else responsible for the accident? Changes the dynamics of
sure.
what you take away or what you penalize somebody for, but something needs to incentivize someone to change the mode of whatever's going on here, because it doesn't seem, and as Randy says, I've witnessed most of those accidents, and we need to stop the bleeding someplace, so. Greg, you got a question or
I
comment?
mean, I agree with what you guys are saying, just probably need to come up with some creative incentives for these departments.
Well, I know, and I'm gonna revert back to Nick back there in his department, and it wasn't anything about accidents, it was about health issues.
Mhm.
They had some thought about, hey, where we having our biggest liabilities, and it was back injuries.
Yes.
So, yeah, we spent some money on the front side to reduce the liability on the back side. Um, I don't know how we do this, and I mean, quite honestly, I think someone needs to, or these guys are gonna have to come up with, maybe some brain thought of reaching out to some people, maybe in the insurance field that says, we have plans to help you reduce your accidents.
So that's one thing that this company touts. I've not had firsthand experience, so I can't attest to it. But they do have, all companies have their risk management kind of program. And so they're pretty proud of theirs. So it's something that is included in the package. So obviously it takes the departments to take advantage of it. But we will get that information out to the department heads and see, and we'll investigate more what they might be able to proactively offer.
Well, and I understand we're not a fleet of insurance agents driving down the road. I mean, they get in pursuits, they get
Oh,
in
yeah.
situations where somebody's trying to speed and they hit our car or whatever, and they don't have any insurance, so it
Right.
drives ours, but we need to have somebody come in and talk to them and say, you need to implement these plans or some plans or a version of those plans to try to reduce our liability. So,
How much is our insurance going up this year?
Every policy that we have in the package totals about 24,000.
We're going up 24,000 with
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
And we're getting higher deductibles.
Yes.
or no insurance.
Well, I mean, it'll be deductible.
Somebody.
Yeah, there's not missing coverage. It's just with a high deductible, it's going to feel
Well,
When does our insurances expire?
it's your calendar year.
1/1.
Yeah.
so you're
Can we
thinking,
do a 6-month?
So, for instance, on the excess property, it has a minimum 25% earned premium. That's why I mentioned we could, if we find something, we can do something different on that on April 1st. And that could be a significant savings if we can do that with some hopefully better deductibles on the property. It's 150 on the property. We were already at 100 with wind and hail. So it very well could still have a $50,000, $100,000 wind hail deductible if they decide to do it. But we might get a lower deductible on fire, water damage, things like that. If they find someone who'll do it.
We looked into to Indiana.
I'm not aware of what that entails.
It's like a specifics of it.
Co-op?
It's kind of like that. It's
pool?
yeah, it's not a state agency per se, but it's created local subdivisions to essentially guarantee against liabilities, but they do so in a group setting.
Yes. I've seen that more so on the health side. I don't know about on and the work comp, I've seen that on the work comp. And I'm not gonna, I'm not aware of that particular one or one that would be, and I know those programs are selected to some degree, because they want people with no claims coming in, but yeah, I mean, I'd have to look into that. I don't know.
And it says this makes it like we're statutory. All subdivisions are, as long as we contribute to the fund.
Sure.
So I don't think it's just because we had bad couple years or we had. I mean, I don't.
The pool that I'm aware of, it is, they do have to approve you to join in, but I don't have firsthand knowledge of it, so I don't know. What's it called?
The Indiana Political Subdivision Risk Management Commission, and it's a catastrophic. So,
Also, do you have our part where if we get sued and, I mean, where does that fall on here? Is that Travelers does those?
No, it's in this first package, your general liability, depending on what you're getting sued for. Whether it's, public officials doing something, just, slip and fall, general liability, law enforcement. You have different lines of coverage there, EPLI.
So is that $1
employees.
million, is that per occurrence or is that maximum?
That's the limit on the first layer of each of those line items. Then you have the umbrella, the excess of 5 million that goes over top of that.
Where I'm getting at, 'cause I know we, tend to get sued. So what is it you need from us tonight? I mean, see that you're came with all the numbers and the denials and.
It, if Jerry calls you and says, hey, I want to put insurance on this, has he done that?
If what now?
Has Jerry ever called you and had you add anything to insurance?
Like a vehicle?
Mm-hmm.
His office has sent me information on new purchases. We typically do that at the end of the year. We'll need to do that throughout the year this time. But yeah, I mean, they have new purchases.
Since the vehicles are in the commissioner's name, I think that the commissioner should be making instead of Jerry. Because if he keeps buying vehicles, say he buys a vehicle from commissary
Mhm.
and he calls you to want to put it, he's bypassed the whole system.
Right.
And we have to get a handle on it. And I'm telling you, I mean, I'm not, this ain't a Jerry thing. This is not a Republican or Democrat thing. We are flat broke in Scott County. And we cannot stay on this path. We don't have it.
So, I mean, yeah, in reality, commissioners have the say. You're the kind of the voice of the insured. So I do take, basically my instructions from you guys. Just to accommodate, we've, talked to all departments to get, information if necessary. We'll still keep communication to make sure nothing slips through the cracks. But if you want to establish a protocol of how changes are made to the policy, then you decide on something like that and how you're going to handle it, and we'll handle it.
Business practice we need to establish.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah, so within the auditor's office, Shasta typically, in the past has handled the vehicles. So as long as everybody's fully aware, still, because, Shasta, only knows what she's provided too. And so no matter what the department is, they may not, because I've had people from other departments send it to me directly. So we could, if that happens, we can always, depending on the protocol, if you say that whoever the point person is, we run it by that point person, say, hey, we received this, just make you aware, and please notify us if you want to proceed.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to do that. And again, I'm not trying to take sides. It's just, our history here, you're looking at it. We can't afford to keep going up. We just don't have the money.
With the, you said that the insurance company we have now, this Ambridge,
Mhm.
They have a training or educational,
Yes, risk management.
we get their number and stuff, and or whatever you gotta do to get there. And
Apparently they've had no members.
What's that?
Political risk.
Oh, nothing new since 18?
so what I'm asking is to bring that to the board or send an email, whether to commissioners, let them know here's the contact information, so if they can deliver it to the departments and say,
Yes.
we need you to implement this. We need you to reach out to them and implement some sort of program.
Yes, for sure.
Hang on a second. Nick?
In regards to our training institute insurance, is that still good?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's getting on to the next pages. So I'll
We're going into capstone.
Yeah.
So I just need to make sure.
Yeah. So for peace of mind for all, cyber coverage in place, the work comp, all the employees, very small change on the premium. Payroll is higher. They put an extra discount on there, kind of bring it down, so we'll only change about $4,000 on the work comp premium. Then on that bottom of that page, you have the accident plan that's mandatory for reserves, section for, provide some coverage for them. And then on the last page, we have coverage for the EMS school. So there's two policies. There's the educators' legal liability for the instructors and teachers. And then you have the professional liability and general liability for the students out there performing their duties, since they're not actually an employee. So yes, included.
Questions? More questions? We're just going around circles.
Yeah, I mean, the offset risk, I mean, I know in my world, we increase contingency. And what we're doing here, we're looking out for their bottom line also. So fortunately, we put ourselves in.
And, it's also, the insurance industry has been struggling this past year. It's not been pretty. So there's been significant rate increases. There's been, denials, and they're not denials, but like cancellations and various things like that from carriers pulling out. So it's just the perfect storm in a way right now with your claims, having a jail and the market conditions, that it's really limited the options. So there's one signature would be needed.
I'll entertain a motion to accept Ambridge as our new, I guess, property casual company with, and was that 24,000 exact? Or was that?
No, I'm rounding the numbers. Yeah, I had that written down and I left
That's
that on the
fine.
desk.
You don't need the exact number. This is, of course, it's all raised. I'll entertain a motion to accept the new insurance company because of the cancellation of Liberty Mutual for non-renewal.
For 6 months.
They will not do a
They're
6-month
not
contract.
gonna do
It'll be an annual policy. But for like the property, we can cancel it. And so on this first package, I don't know what the cancellation clause is on that. That, I don't see that as being likely as having an alternative. I can research that.
What's your
You
motion?
can research whether or not we can discontinue. it
Cancel this,
6 months.
some policies 100% aren't, no matter when you cancel. The excess property is 25%. So that's why I'm saying that is an option that could be changed April 1st if we find. I don't know what the minimum earned on this main package is. Having already been through all options that I could find available and being declined, so I'm not hopeful to find an alternative.
He's already, you said, the fellow you was talking with already, maybe looking at it and think there's potential.
Yeah, like I said, one of the companies he mentioned is a company we've already been declined. So if the system rules, he won't be able to get it done, but if he can pull some strings with his underwriter and get the manager sign off of it in their office, then who knows?
Oh, yeah, sure. What's the motion?
Well, I mean, we can go without insurance.
I'll entertain a motion to move the insurance to Ambridge and again, because of the cancellation or a non-renewal from Liberty Mutual, so.
I'll make a motion.
Randy makes a motion, Greg
I'll second.
seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous.
What was the deductible for vehicles?
Don't wreck anything.
Yeah. It's
250,000?
250. I know.
So let me get this straight. Is that per incident?
So it's per incident, but there's a 500,000 maximum claim on any maximum payout on all claims, whether it be auto, liability, property damage, various things like that, would all pay into that 500,000.
So essentially, you're not covered for the first time.
Depending on how the claims play out. So you have a low
Unless the claim is
deductible.
above two.
Right.
So if you wreck a Charger, that's 50 grand.
Mhm.
So if I wreck an ambulance and it's total, I pay the deductible for the entire family.
That's not my call. I don't know how that's going to be done. That's what we were kind of talking about. How the deductibles are paid.
Yeah, don't.
$250,000 is gonna come out of the county.
Yeah.
That's the thing right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Feel like I'm getting shafted here.
hang on,
Well,
hang on a minute.
We are.
You're
I
saying-
mean,
You say you have your own coverage.
Like right now. The county insurance that we got. I get a bill from Jennifer, and that comes off my budget. My portion doesn't come off the commissioner. And then like when we have a claim,
Yeah,
my portion comes on my budget.
I think it's something you just proportion whatever it is.
Get us some more.
I don't know.
That's why I was talking.
we're gonna have to handle it individually. Don't have any wrecks.
I'm moving to a partially self.
Yeah.
So that self-insured, like we're all gonna be.
I'm just saying that asset wise, my vehicles are.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a fair.
well, it's 300,000 compared to 50.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of my thing is, I'm paying my own deductibles right now. Like the commissioners aren't paying that. So that's where,
Yeah, but it wouldn't be,
I get it that like everybody's looking at this like, one department is one department.
understood, yes.
To a certain degree, that is correct in terms of how you all work on an annual basis, but to talk about Mike's point about just moving money around, I think to a certain degree, where the money comes from ultimately is all. I realize you're a little bit different, and that some of your funds are revenue generating sources rather than taxes.
It's 96%.
I'm just saying, I get it, but ultimately, self-insurance policy is, we're
I
all
just want to make sure. I don't even into this. I have enough to get a shot.
Twofold. Don't have a wreck, don't total anything,
Still go.
and you not done too bad of a job.
So I guess that would be one thing, I'd, be thinking in major claim, how do you want deductible to be handled? Something,
He's,
think about.
Nick's right, it shouldn't come, I mean, if that's the case, then if the sheriff wrecks 5 cars in the first 4 months, then he's probably gonna pay the deductible, and Nick won't have anything. But it's not
Yeah,
who, it's
who
not
gets it
who it's
first?
coming from, yeah. And so, someone will deal with that when it happens like that. Thanks, Richard.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And side note, thanks for
Have a good
all your
one.
years.
Yep,
Appreciate all you
thank
did
you.
for us.
Good New Year.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks.
Thanks, Frank.
Dick, get up here. Get that thing away from me. I'm gonna kill myself.
I guess I have 2 things.
Trevor, buy that shirt for you.
No, I bought it myself. Bought it 2 meetings ago, sitting right back here. Main reason I'm here. I got a contract this morning sent to me from the American Red Cross for commitment between us and the American Red Cross for 3 years to have blood, a minimum purchase of blood per year for 3 years. And I'm coming here asking for the authority to sign said contract.
Is this with the Dr. Yazel thing with the carrying blood?
This would be us carrying blood, but this is us doing it ourselves. So there was, U of L had pretty much dropped out of their program with Metro. So they're not going to support a tertiary entity that doesn't, while we frequent there, we don't work with them type deal. So I decided to circumvent the process. I reached out to Air Methods and contacts there and said, hey, how are you guys doing this? And he gave me the phone number to someone in which I called, and that's where this has started to allows us the ability to still carry blood, but we don't have the guaranteed swap out benefit that we normally would with the program that we started this process.
Use it or lose it.
Use it or throw it away. So what it is this puts us on a 3-year contract to buy a minimum of 17 liquid plasma, 17 packed red blood cells, and 4 whole blood bags a year. So
That's a mandatory purchase.
Correct.
At a cost.
So what it is it's every 3 weeks. These products are good for 3 weeks at a time. So that means day 1, we get it. 3 weeks later, if we don't use it, we waste it, and they automatically deliver us a new one. So that's those products. The only one in there is the whole blood. Whole blood is expensive in comparison to the other 2, and I was not willing to commit to that expenditure. So the minimum, I think, is 2 a year. So that was the minimum there, just to have it as a benefit, because I would like to try.
Talking about a whole blood?
Yes. But our commitment is for liquid plasma is $90 a bag for the first year, $95 for the second, and $100 for the third. They just do markup there for inflation. Go ahead.
90 for the year, is that
90 a bag.
so 90 a bag? How
About
many
17.
bags are you gonna have? per
Minimum of
3
17
weeks?
a year.
17 for the year?
Yep.
Okay.
And then the packed red blood cells are 320 330, and then 340.
I mean, those
17. And then 2 whole blood at 580 apiece.
The first was plasma.
Liquid plasma, yes, sir.
So every 3 weeks, what would your cost be?
About $410.
I'm gonna ask a question. If, with the history of the history of the EMS right now,
Mhm.
how often would you use any of these 3 items?
Liquid plasma would probably be the most immediately utilized, to, I would say, frequent to common. Whole blood, I would say probably, I think we kind of had a report with, that we do with our flight services for our flyouts on the year. And we take obviously the medical traumas, or the medical out of it, the strokes and all that kind of stuff. We look at the traumas, and we've had, I think, 102 traumatic flyouts this year. And out of the 102, 80 of those could have utilized blood.
On the red blood,
The packed red, yep, that's what those are for. Liquid plasma is more of a volume expander and helps carry the blood that's still left in your body. Packed red is replacing the blood that you've lost. So that's why, and this is the thing. The benefit here to our service is that we are advanced here. I mean, you've heard Dr. Yezel speak. We have countermeasures to make sure what we're giving is needed. We have the ability to run hematocrit and hemoglobin in the truck. We have the ability to do ultrasound to verify bleeding. We have the ability to do all of these things in the truck, so we know we're not just, this sounds good, and administering a 3 or $700 or $600 bag of blood. Are there going to be times that we go with our gut? 100%. It's what we're trained to do. But there is some equipment in place here that, if we're on the fence about something, we can go, all right, let me take the extra 4 minutes to run this test to see if this verifies what I'm thinking. So now, are we committed to those 17 bags a year? Yes. But the good thing is if we got our blood today and I use it Friday, and I call them and say, hey, we use blood, Friday they come up and they replace it. Now, we still pay for the bag. We pay an extra $50 delivery fee, but we're not going without this stuff. It's our choice whether we replace it immediately or we wait till the next scheduled delivery. Yep, and the council appropriated me extra money this year for the blood program. I had bought all of the equipment that we would need, coolers, refrigerators. The only thing that we're waiting on is a certain temperature probe. And I still have, I think, like 30 or 1,000, give or take, of that money left over from what they appropriated, because that was kind of what we slated for the blood a year. Because right now, I think where we're at, the blood's going to cost us about 12 to 15 a year. With usage, I think base is about 9,000, I think is what it comes out to. And when I went to council, the only thing I said is the only thing that is not factored in my budget is if we get approved for blood. And if we get approved for blood, I'd come back and ask for the 20 grand or whatever that we did use this year, and they are understanding of that. We self-fund this, just like the majority of the rest of this. And, we would be the 5th service in the state to get this.
let's look at that.
What's involved with that cost?
I mean,
So when you you purchase a bag
Mhm.
of blood, how much blood
One bag.
is it?
1 unit.
So probably from one person.
Yes, one person only. It's a one-time.
It's not a milkshake.
Nope. We can't share straws.
And then they've done testing.
Who?
where you're buying the blood from. They've tested.
Yeah, this is all O negative blood. This is universal donor blood.
Okay.
This is the American Red Cross. Like it's the people that when you do blood drives.
And also, there's something they've done testing that guarantee certain things about the tests, but they've done some of the testing.
This is the same group that gives blood to hospitals, that gives blood to like this isn't, me in my garage just having a good day.
Right.
This is
But I'm not against this.
I think-
I'm just spitballing here. I'm trying to think.
if someone has a reaction, is that where you're going?
No. My question is, could we do our own blood drive?
We can do our
Just
own
say
blood
you-
drive, but we can't
You
guarantee it
can't
comes back to
process
us.
it.
We can't process it.
No,
Hell no.
that's
Well, I
not.
don't know.
No, so that's the
So they-
thing is all
When
of
they
our
take it,
all of our blood goes to St. Louis. When we do a donation, it all goes to St. Louis and it gets
they
processed there.
separate.
And then they do their own thing. And that's why on whole blood, the $580 bag, that's got a 2-week shelf life. Now that's why I would like to try it, because there's a study of whole blood red plasma. It's nerdy stuff that I'm not going to get into. But the cost, I cannot commit to that cost because that's going to quadruple our cost a year. I can't commit to that.
On the 3 weeks,
Mhm.
every 3 weeks, how many bags are you gonna
One
have?
each.
So you're gonna have
One liquid
bag.
plasma and
That's,
one
and
pack.
that's where I was trying to get a price.
So it's 17 times 320 and 17 times 90. So it should be about
8,000.
9,000
$8,130.
a year. That's minimum.
That's
No.
in case, if you use it and go, hey, I need another, that's a minimum that you have to buy.
Correct. Now, if I use it on, let's say I use it on Randy, I call American Red Cross and say, hey, I use my blood. I need a delivery tonight. They go, oh, okay. And I pay that $320 again, plus a $60 delivery fee that one time. Or I decide, hey, it's 2 days away. I'll just wait until they bring me my scheduled delivery in 2 days. So that's going to be the balance that we decide.
So the liability of it
It's
is probably no different than
any other medication we give.
him doing
I mean,
anything.
really, there's some language in the agreement about things that they don't guarantee, but they still guarantee. Again, if there were an issue that arose because of blood and because of omission by Cross, something they did, like they get involved and cover partial or some of the claim or all of the claim. If we have a dispute with them, it would go first to an agreed mediator, the way the agreement's written, and to a panel of arbitrators with the Federal Reconciliation and Mediation Services, or actually, I think it's the.
Where I was getting at is, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, is the blood that you're gonna be getting universal blood?
Mhm. It was
So,
all O negative
You can't
universal donor.
screw up and give somebody the wrong type of blood.
No, and this is technically a medication. This is no different than any of the other 68 medications we give.
Yeah, and that's where I was,
If you get a reaction from blood, we give the same epi, the same benadryl,
Okay.
the same
That's-
salt, same thing that if I give you Zofran and you have a reaction, it's
Yeah.
the same process.
that's where I'm at. I'm perfectly fine with it. I like the program you had when you were trying to do the other thing, and
I will say, again, only thing that I think it's 3 years is probably the maximum amount of time that I would probably suggest it.
where you look at it again.
Yeah,
And this is the only reason I went 3 is because between last year, like this year's pricings, the pack red was like 240 and it went up to 320. And here they would do lock a $10 increment instead of a $60.
I think 3 is still the maximum that I would say. Yeah. And then you do need to also understand if any issues arise, you have to settle those. But you don't have to, sue anybody for anything. You have to go into it.
We never went anywhere.
And I think the big thing here is if you look at your total obligations about 25,000 over 3 years. So worst case at the end of the year, if you're like, screw it, you pay 16 grand and you're done. in theory.
But life saved, or
Like it's worth
Okay.
$8,000.
that's kind of a minuscule.
But this has to be signed by someone with license to me.
You,
So I just need,
Need to give them
questions?
authority to.
No, I mean, I'm not 100% behind it. I just didn't know if there was a way we could do it cheap for you. That was what.
I've exhausted all cheap ways.
American Red Cross, the biggest blood people there are. Ray, you got any questions? I'll entertain a motion to allow Nick to sign, the agreement with American Red Cross for 3 years for blood purchase.
Make that motion.
Randy makes a motion, Greg.
Second.
Greg seconds that, and I'll make it unanimous, so.
Thank you. I guess a quick question since the other thing came up. Is it possible for me to try to see if I can get insurance on my vehicles, or is that not a thing?
I don't think they would do just one. I think that's what it said. And if they did. Sure. So, like the reason that yours might be less is because.
Yeah, but
The
if I,
same level of liability, the same type of vehicle.
okay, I figured I'd
that
ask.
they're. I mean, that's kind of what I'm saying. We're all, at some point, we're all kind of paying.
I'd venture to say, if you have a claim and you're the first claim of the year, EMS isn't gonna absorb the entire deductible. I would hope to think.
See that, and that's just my worry is right now, like when we had our wreck, I paid the
I
the
think
county.
Getting a third-party administrator to manage the claims, I think that's going to be a bit different.
It's just where the money comes from.
I think
is-
we're also going to, I mean, technically, we should be building a reserve. That's what self-insurance is you build a reserve in of funds that would have been paid. To cut, that should be something that should be done universally. It should be accounting.
Yeah, I think,
Okay.
I don't think, I mean, I'm not.
I just figured I'd ask if I could get a quote or two.
We proposed that, I think you're on. What you thought. It's not a good idea.
For
Just
the
from the-
county.
Just from the standpoint, it's, the good drivers help the bad drivers, so.
Yeah, but okay, never mind.
You're just worried about the deductible.
Yeah, I mean,
And I agree.
$1 hit to my reserve is.
You shouldn't be paying that.
This should be a situation that we handle the same way. We're entering into it. I mean,
Stop it, that's the
we
way
had
we've done it.
looks like we're having a mixed policy, but like self-insurance really is not insurance. Not contracting with an insurance company to offload liability. You are essentially just agreeing that you have this liability. You are paying funds in reserve for that potential liability. So I think that we need to have to address how these claims work, and it's going to be different than.
And you're 100% correct. I'm looking at it from the point of view from my department.
Yeah.
But I think I am the only department that's paying our. And that's why I'm looking at it differently.
I just don't know how, I don't know why you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate everything you've done.
too. Yep. Visitors board selection. We talked about this actually at a hearing the other day with the ARAB and walked out of the room, said we were gonna make a amendment to the agenda and we didn't do it.
4 hour meeting and forgot about it.
Yeah. What was anybody remember what the gentleman's or ladies, it was a lady, I think, from Raintree.
Was it Maria?
Hang on, let me see if I can find Mr. Wiggins' post to.
Marnie,
What is it?
Marnie Kern,
Marty,
Marny is what we have.
Many,
Yes,
Fern?
Fern, Fern.
All right. Anybody got any questions about this? Cause all he wants to do is add her to the board, the visitors board to replace, Jim Jonas.
Who we replacing?
Jim Jonas, which is our
Yeah.
person.
Milk.
So I'll entertain a motion to replace Jim Jonas on the Scott County Visitors Board with Marnie Fern, which is the lady that owns Green Tree Campground.
I'll make that motion.
He makes a motion, Greg.
I'll say,
Greg seconds that. I'll make that unanimous. So, vertical bridge contract.
I
The heck
sent
is
that to you
that?
earlier, and I think that was the company that, told us about the electric, wasn't it?
yeah, they're with the Verizon Tower.
Yeah,
Oh, is that who that is?
yes.
I actually talked to, well, actually, you and I were talking.
Yes, because they called and asked about the electric.
Well, we need to look at the contract that we signed, because I don't know why we would be supplying
Exactly.
insurance or
Electric.
electric for their tower. And I talked to the city electric, and all they said was, all they gotta do is go to City Hall and create an account, and the box is there, all they gotta do is put a meter on. So I actually stopped by there today. Took a picture of it. I don't know if everybody's seen it. It's got a fence and.
Yeah. I was out the other day when he was putting it up.
It's up. Mr. Preston told me that Verizon would be back and have their stuff on it and be operational by February or sometime in February, so. And my name is Rich Hanson, converter. Please be sure to fill out W-9. Electronic form, by electric deposit. Payment direction. Tell us who gets paid and. So this looks to me, this is where they are going to send us the money for the contract. Zach, have you looked at this
I
with this
I did
vertical
look.
bridge?
Yeah, I don't think it's actually, I think we're just signing and initiating it
Okay.
based on the language that I saw. I think we've already executed an agreement, but
Well, they're asking,
vertical bridge is just the successor.
well, actually, you're correct, because they, it kind of got changed from Verizon to this company that's. And we actually entered into an agreement with a third party because of the Verizon wasn't gonna get the tower up and these people put towers up.
Yeah, this is, I think,
And all they're wanting to know is where our bank routing numbers and everything else.
yeah, and then where the notice of commencement. Second here for the lessor's acknowledgement. And then we're just saying, basically saying the start date for the term. I think we've already executed.
So. I guess, I'll entertain a motion, allow me to sign this agreement, notice of a commencement date of initial terms, so.
I think we should probably authorize Jennifer to fill in the payment information and then
W-9. So I'll first entertain a motion to allow Jennifer to fill out the W-9, submit it, and also the payment authorization form. So
I'll make that motion.
Randy makes a motion, Greg,
I'll say,
Greg seconds that, I'll make that unanimous. So do we have a fund that they can electronically?
We'll have to make one.
Okay, that's
Yeah, we'll
what
have to make one.
I was. And then I'll entertain a motion to allow me to sign the vertical bridge notice of the commencement date.
I'll make that motion.
Randy makes a motion, allow Greg, Greg seconds that, I'll make that unanimous. Next up is consideration of special and regular invoices or claims. Everybody had an opportunity to look at those?
Yes. Jennifer?
Jim?
No. I was just opening for you.
Correction store, like a M&M lease. Which, oh, that's for the park. And Amazon Smartboard, that's from IT. Those are claims that we've already approved. Or
Yeah.
approved.
Thank
Yeah.
you to you and Mandy for getting those.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to pay off. Is there other claims or these are just the
That, she did
additional?
not hand me a regular set of claims, so I don't know if there was any more that should have been.
This being the end of the year, I think we did it.
We did.
That's what I'm
This
thinking.
is
They were
just
already,
extra
I'm thinking
claims.
those were the extra, but
Yeah, so I'll entertain a motion to pay these special claims for a door to Scottsburg Glass for $2,538, to M&M Office Products for lease agreement for looks like 24 months and a copy fee of $389.13, and I guess from an Amazon Capital for a smart board. And this was money we spent out of ARPA, which is $9,600. So I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to get them paid.
I don't know why.
Well,
Kind of like to have everybody call me at home and say, you know, I'm in business and the county won't even pay me.
yeah.
So, Randy's made a motion, Greg seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous. So, it says here. I had an opportunity to look at the payroll for December 27th, 24.
Yes.
I'll entertain a motion to pay the payroll for December 27th.
It's Christmas. Let's do it.
Randy's made a motion, Greg seconds that. I'll make that unanimous. Consideration of the minutes for December the 18th. Everybody had an opportunity to look at the minutes.
and I just saw that there is, we have a top that said a lady at name unknown, and I think I do know the name. I'll go back and check my notes. There'll be a change on that, so it'll be, if you could accept them as, corrected.
All right. We'll, entertain a motion to pay or, approve the minutes for December the 18th with the amendment.
I'll make that motion.
Randy's made the motion, Greg.
I'll second.
Greg seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous, so. Mr. Attorney, do you have anything?
Not this.
Jennifer, do you have anything?
Nothing aware of.
Randy, do you have anything?
No.
Greg, do you have anything?
Do I have one more thing? Hey, Andrew. You grab me that. It's, in the office. You go get it?
Everything else go.
I think I'm gonna go on that website. And hang that up in the shadow box.
Do your thing.
Never been worn, has it? That's not funny, but it's not funny at all.
Mhm.
So, as many probably know, this is the last meeting with Mike, and I just want to speak for myself. Mike, you the health commissioner. I mean, I've learned so much through you. We lean on you. And I just want you to know how much I appreciate that. It's going to be a big loss for us. We just want you to know how much, I want you to know how much I appreciate it.
Still want that ride, Mike, don't you?
I can tell you that. And just know that I appreciate the hell and everything you've done. And a health commissioner, I appreciate
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Well,
Thank you.
Yep.
on that note, I want to say it's been an honor to serve with you for the last 4 years. This is a tough job. This is a very tough job. You never can make everybody happy. And you hope that you can, do the right thing to make a few people happy. And sometimes, we never hear from that. We only hear from the people that are unhappy. So,
That's true.
thank you for your service, Scott County. And that means across the board for everything you do.
We'd like to present Mike with this plaque. It says, presented Mike Jones in recognition of years of commitment and service to Scott County and Scott County Commissioners, 2024. Thank you, buddy.
Appreciate it. Well, I got a couple of things to say.
Later, I'll send a picture to you from me, of me.
I need to see that. 8 years ago, my wife and I were driving home from Florida. And I was talking to Eric Gillespie on the phone and kind of got into it with a couple of Democrat commissioners, and surprisingly, but told them I was either going to have somebody run against them or I was going to run against them. And because I actually asked a simple question. And as a taxpayer, I should have got the answer. But they wouldn't communicate with me. They wouldn't call me. They wouldn't tell me the answer. They just said, pretty much go pound sand because they weren't going to do it. And call your daughter. So anyway, from Key West to Tennessee, I was back and forth with Eric, and decided before we hit the Kentucky line that I was going to run. It was technically the last day to sign up, and I said if nobody ran, I would. So I did. Of course, that didn't work out that way because the Scott County GOP chair decided at the last minute he's going to run against me. So I ended up beating him and winning in the primary or in the general election, which again, first time a Republican has been a commissioner since the 80s. And Lincoln Taylor was the last commissioner. So, but I set for, and my wife and I talked about this today as well. So, set for about 3 months listening and trying to figure out what was going on and how everything worked. And being an oddball or an odd man out was tough for the first couple of years. Because nothing that you ever wanted to do would ever get passed. But I will say this, and I'm gonna thank Gene Robbins, because Gene was a commissioner after Kelly passed away, and I convinced Gene to understand that we didn't need to buy or build another jail, because when I was running, DLZ was in here presenting plans to build, after the new jail was built, another jail at a price of about $7 million. And previous to me becoming a commissioner, I had all the reports that DLZ had and had uh, the reports from the old jail, what was supposed to be wrong with it. So on day one, and I mean literally day one, Dan McLean was the sheriff and Dan, what's going on, what's wrong? And as that meeting ended, I walked to the jail with him and he showed me what was wrong and asked him for all the past jail reports that we failed for, I'm going to say 20 years probably. So started the list, top of the list, and just started going down the list of knocking off. First of all, they said the sewer system was bad. And this is how crazy politics gets, but I asked for $1,200 from the council to scope the sewer system in the jail. Like I never got it. $1,200 to save $7 million. Got it with the help of a couple of Democrats on the council because Eric was over there by himself as well. Stood right there when the guy scoped the whole jail. It was me, Eric, and Donnie Ritchie. And the guy goes, I found one bad spot. And it was in a mop closet that they didn't even use. So their knocks off the biggest thing that DLZ was saying was that you got to tear it down because the sewer system's collapsed and you can't do it. So that was a big plus for me to think that we spent $600,000 to get the jail to pass an inspection for the first time in 20 years. And I'm going to tell a story, and I know the sheriff likes to taunt that he was the first sheriff, but here's where again, I'm not a politician and I hate politics, and this is why. We worked hard to get all the things checked off the list that the state was saying we need to fix. We had them all fixed except for one, and it was the HVAC system, and it was being installed as the end of the year came. The current sheriff, left office, a new sheriff came in. Jail inspections are always in March, I can tell you, because I wait for them. Jail inspection came, we failed. I'm gonna tell you, I thought I was gonna have to call Nick, but Nick wasn't here at the time. But about that coronary, because I was so mad that everything was checked off and why we failed. Went to the jail, talked to the jail commander, and I was very upset that we didn't pass. And the reason being, and again, politics. They shut down his cell block when they knew the inspector was coming and failed the inspection. Pissed me off. So again, calendar year, March comes next, nothing's really changed. I mean, we had new showers put in, new floors, new plumbing, new lights. If you ever drove around the jail and never understood why there was metal pieces where the windows are supposed to be around the jail, it only took Scottsburg Glass a day to go over there and replace them all. But it was simple things that got it done. And again, $7 million compared to $600,000. Next thing that I'm going to say is that the needle exchange. For this poor guy down here, I thought he was going to quit on the first day that he worked. He accepted coming to be our commissioner on a day that this place took another person in here, 4 TV cameras, and he's sitting right here going, what the hell did I get in? But me being a medical person, or I consider myself a novelist, but I ran on medical runs for a long time, and I never saw anything making that whole program not working like it should. But again, me coming in as a new commissioner, I sat over there and I said, I will give you a year. I'll vote yes, and I did vote yes on the first time we had to renew the needle exchange. But I said, I'm gonna give you a year to prove to me that it is a valid program. And me, not Dr. Box, not any doctor in this county that's never witnessed an overdose. And I questioned them during hearings that they were here for me or for us. Never did they ever witness an overdose, ever, any of them. And whenever they see them, it's in a sterile environment and yada, yada, yada. But anyway, I gave them the year. I literally was out picking up needles myself. I still have the key to the needle box that are around the county someplace. But as a fireman, as a deputy chief of a fire department with young people that are going in and out of these places, and I've been to multiple places where I've actually ran everybody out because of the amount of needles that were in this house. And it was never working. I mean, I'm not saying that the program that got people in the door to have a conversation with somebody to try to get them in a treatment program, those things are secondary to someone handing someone, I consider you might as well give them a loaded gun because you're giving them a utensil that they're going to kill themselves. And I just wasn't going to do it anymore. And these two guys can attest, maybe Randy more than Greg, going to state conventions and maybe I'm backwards here, but being recognized at Scott County for the needle exchange was not a pleasant thing for me. Walked out of two seminars that's all they were talking about was Scott County and how bad we were. We're not a bad community. We're no different than Clark County or anybody else. Because, matter of fact, Clark County had over 2 times the amount of HIV recorded patients than we had. So we're singled out. So I'm happy that Greg and I, not Greg, Randy and I, had the gumption, I guess, because it wasn't a pleasant night. I mean, people yelling at you, people not saying pleasant things to you. I mean, but you know what? I believe we did the right thing, and I'm happy with how everything turned out. It's probably one of the biggest arguments I ever had with the sheriff. Sat right there and said, "Oh, it's going to be a catastrophe." Well, I haven't seen a catastrophe. It's been it's been several years now. So what I don't see is needles in playgrounds and needles in ditches that kids are playing, and so I'm happy that we made that decision. It wasn't a easy decision to come to, but in my opinion, it was the easiest decision I ever made. Lastly, and I know we had a councilman that said that we were mandated by the courts, but I'm gonna give the court a little kudos here. We were threatened to mandate. We were never mandated by the court to find additional space for the courts. And I come from a business world of making $1 million decisions in 15 minutes, and to take over a year to make this deal happen. My wife being a real estate agent, I mean, she can make a deal in 15 minutes, but it took over a year for this thing to happen, and it finally did happen on the last damn day of the year, damn near, but it happened, and hopefully, I'm not gonna be here to see how the plans roll out or whatever happens, but, we have a plan to save the county another 13 to 15 million dollars. And the money we have spent so far, the 600,000 came from ARPA, which again, didn't come out of the general fund. So even though it's taxpayer dollars, it's everybody in 50 states taxpayer dollars, and it's not something that's coming out of our money that we could use for other things, so. And I am gonna say something about Randy here. Randy has pushed for the chip seal equipment since 4 years probably. And I'm glad he has it. I think, Greg being from NDOT knows that, road preservation, he's taught me a bunch about this. Road preservation is just, I mean, and I'll elaborate a little bit more, but that road preservation is saving money for the taxpayers. I don't care if it's now or it's 5 years from now or 10 years from now. You're saving tax dollars. Flipping to another switch is of our maintenance and our infrastructure is that we need to have programs where we're replacing things or maintaining things instead of waiting for it just to break and then everybody's here with we got $25,000 motor or something we got to buy and everybody's looking where we're going to pay for it. We need to maintain what we have. We're not a rich county but we need to maintain what we have, and we have nice buildings, we have nice equipment, and we have the best ambulance service that I'm not even gonna say money can buy because it's the people that make it. I hope I never have to ride in the back of another one. But I know if I do, my chances of surviving is probably better. So anyway, this job has brought me friends and has brought me probably a bunch of enemies too, but I'll take the friends over the enemies, and if the enemies who they are, then they weren't my friends in the beginning. I will say this, and I'll end with this, is that we, in Scott County, our politics are upside down. I know we just recently had an election, but we have some dysfunction, and I hate to say that word, but in some people. And I hope, and I mean, I'm 65 and I've had old people that mentored me in my life and one of them actually graduated with my dad, 92, 93 years old, be 94 this year. He sits right here used to sit right here on a council. He told me once when I was 21 years old on the fire department that he made me a officer, and I said, how am I going to get old people on this fire department to follow me? And he goes, well, first of all, you got to make sure that you're going to do what you're asking them to do. And the second thing is you can't demand somebody to respect you. You have to earn it. There's some people that are around politics right now that don't understand that. There's some other people that Bill Graham, longtime neighbor of mine, friend of mine, parents grew up right across the road from me. He told me, he goes, well, sometimes you can give somebody some power to go straight to their head. Well, I'm telling you, and I'm leaving here, but there's a lot of that. If we're going to move this county forward, whether it's with hatred for some other people, we need to bury the dang hatchet and move on. So, with that, I'll entertain a motion to close the meeting.
Second.
Randy makes a motion, Greg.
I'll say.
Greg seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous. Kill that damn bird.